An agenda?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Why don't we, it's a couple minutes after 7, we'll open the meeting. Town of Scituate Board of Health meeting, Selectmen's hearing room, Monday, July 29, 2013. Take a little bit, but we'll get you through it, follow through the motions. But I'll take a motion.
I'll have to get the cue cards out again, won't I?
Yeah, to set the agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda for Monday the 29th.
I would like to amend the agenda
Sure.
under old business update, add article number 484 Man Hill Road.
Which one's that, 84?
Man Hill Road.
That's just a discussion.
Yeah. I'm just giving you the big
So
one.
with that, second with the amendment, with the motion with the amendment, if you got to do this. Second, if you so desire.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, did you have a
You
chance
don't
to go?
necessarily have to second something if you don't agree with it.
Right.
Because usually we don't make a motion on those.
Well, a lot of times you second for discussion.
Right.
It's not your vote, so. Did anybody get a chance to read minutes?
I briefly read them, but I'm not prepared to discuss them or present.
All right, well then, we'll just move on. You'll probably be getting some more shortly when we can get the copy machine to work. Okay, so 7:10. I can probably give you a business if you want.
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
12 Wardleberry, I sent her a letter, gave her 30 days. She wanted some help. Nobody's prepared to give her the kind of help she wants at a price she wants.
Now, 12 Waterbury, what's the person?
That's Vicky Charbonneau.
She's been here.
Yeah, she's been here, and
Okay.
she's, you know, I think she's just gonna have some difficulty meeting the deadlines, but I do know that her niece and nephew are gonna come down again, so.
Is she moving forward though? She's making an attempt at this? Is she
Oh,
doing-
she's making an attempt, but it's very slow because of the process she needs to go through.
Yeah. But there's,
And the family's involved.
Marginally is allowed,
They're out of state, I
yes.
think it's upstate
Albany.
New York. Yeah,
Albany, yeah.
It's a situation where it's not an direct, it's either an it's a niece or a nephew, it's not
But direct relative, right?
She's a single lady, yeah. So we'll see. She's still got some time. 22 Pinoak, I did a drive-by today. The driveway's still full. I just zipped him out a letter. Told him he's got like 3 days left. And we can slam him. He said
Can I
the,
just make a, Steve, I would suggest making, you can see a lot by drive-bys, on
Right.
business places.
Right.
You look at the neighborhood, you look at there.
Right. I'm familiar with Pinot. I'm familiar with both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
drive-by as well.
I will. Yeah, I definitely will.
he made his own agreement with you for the 30 days, everything done, not just a progress report after 2 weeks. So, we'll have him back in, or we'll just file in court, whatever. Hoarding task force, I've had 2 meetings already. We've picked an assessment tool for everyone to use. Chief's gonna try and get it reformatted so it's a little bit more concise paper-wise. And he still hasn't come up with a policy yet, although he intends to. And pretty much went over my total list of cases and briefly noted what the problems are. And the deputy's been on vacation from the fire department, so he and I have 2 more places to go into. I would have called him today, but I didn't have time. So hopefully we can set that up either this week or next week to get in those 2 places and get them officially on the cleanup list. They've been unofficially sort of doing things, but we need to do it again.
There's going to be a standardized set of lists and things to look for all the first responders and so on and so forth.
excuse me?
Standardized list of everything the first responders need to look for and so on and so forth when they
Yeah,
come to houses
yeah.
between everybody involved, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So-
not only the first responders, but also the VNAs. Because
Right.
I have found that a lot of them, as long as their patient is medically advancing, they sometimes ignore the environment, which isn't gonna help these poor people when nursing care ends. So, I'm hoping that we can work cooperatively with them and, you know, just take care of the patient as a whole, you know, so that, you know, they have the best chance of getting better and staying healthy. And then, 84 Man Hill, I went up there, she's connected to a new water line, she's connected to the sewer, she has water, she cleaned, there's no odor, there's a wide path through the living room into the kitchen, she has a big pile in the living room, all set to go to be donated. She has some more cleaning up to do in the living room and the kitchen, but she has a cleaned off, clean couch that she wants to sleep in. She says she's never slept there since her husband passed away. And I said, well, I'm not gonna make you sleep upstairs, you just have to clean it.
It's not that place to
I know,
Yeah.
I know. I'm glad she has a place to sleep. So, once she finishes cleaning the kitchen, which I gave her 30 days, and she's fine with that, and I said, habitation is over, you can live here now. Because she's got the basics, and, you know, she did what we asked as a primary thing, and she did it much better than most people who were asked to do that. So when she finishes the 30 days finishing the living room and the kitchen, then she can tackle the dining room. She needs room to be able to move that stuff out. And then she's gotten rid of a lot of the kids' stuff. She's given all 5 of her kids ultimatums. This is your stuff, either you come get it or it's going out. And some of it already has. And then once we get the dining room done, we can go upstairs. And I checked in with the animal control officer because she was concerned about the dogs, and the dogs weren't there when I visited, but, you know, it being clean and better, it's better for everybody, so we're making good progress there.
Excellent. Good to hear.
Yeah, I think she's really determined in that, and, you know, she's pretty proud of herself with how much she's done, and I think, you know, it's making her feel good that she'll just continue, which, you know, shows she can do it. You know, she's being mom again and putting her foot down and it's going. So, you know, it's sometimes easier with some people and sometimes it's impossible with some people. So, you know, it takes all kinds to make a world. Last week, you know, we closed the beach 4 times.
4
Four.
beaches were closed.
Never had that happen before. I hope it never happens again.
You know, we had a little bit of a dry spell there, and then we got some pretty good rain, so.
Right.
It was first flush, plus it was the high tides that flushed out all the marshes. That's why I'm pretty sure Hummerock was so high, because it flushed out the marsh into the river drained into the North River, and then it came around, bam, in front of Hummerock. You know, we pray every Wednesday that we don't get a nasty phone call or a nasty fax saying, go cause a beach. But we do what we have to do. So we did sample Egypt today because the lifeguards are complaining about it, so we'll get those results tomorrow. But it was still
Complaining about the seaweed.
about the smell. They said the water smelled, and, you know, I'm not sure how educated they are on what seaweed smells like and everything else, but there's also a couple of big beams down there right at the water's edge that DPW's got to get out of there.
A couple of big what?
Beams. I think they're about 9 feet, 8-9 feet long, and they're about a foot diameter.
Something that came off a pier somewhere or something?
Something, but I mean, nobody can pick them up. They're one too big, or two, they're waterlogged. So I mean,
There's a ton of debris out there. I was out towards the Bell on Saturday. It's just a ton of debris out there. A ton of
there's
stuff
probably
everywhere.
a lot of it washed off the marshes.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there. So really watch out. But obviously this one came ashore, so.
Yeah. So we put in a request to DPW, they move it, and now we're evoking the seaweed policy. Jen and Vitelli looked at it, I've looked at it, and I've kicked it upstairs to Al and Tricia, and they can decide whether it needs to be cleaned or not, but.
Did we have a company that was gonna come in and take it for compost? somebody
No,
working
no,
on it,
because it
connection?
wasn't as regular or as, it could be more than needed. But we did look into it.
Yeah.
We did look into it, so, with one of the organic farms in the area, so. We tried.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a little late.
Okay, all informative. 7:10 PM hearing, septic system repair, 267 Central Avenue. Paul Marriott, Maryland Associates, representing homeowner, Mr. Stanley Machado.
Good evening. Does the board have a preference for where I set up the easel or
No.
just put it on the table?
Put it right on the table, that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah,
Do you have the green card storage you been to you or?
thanks.
Again, my name is Peter Palmieri from Merrill Associates with the design engineers for this project. And it is a septic repair at 272 Central Ave. Central Ave is located right here. This is the lot where the proposed work is to take place. It's on the easterly side of Central Ave in Humrock. Property is located in a coastal barrier beach. It's located in the velocity zone. This is the delineation between elevation 19 and 16 of the velocity zone. This is the difference. These are according to the FEMA map, of course, between elevation 16 and elevation 13. The house is located in this area. This is the delineation of the deck, set of stairs here and set of stairs here. This is the dwelling currently now, and it is on piers. The septic repair is being requested to replace an old cesspool. It was washed away in the winter storms of last February. We're proposing to tie in the existing building sewer, which comes down here. And we're proposing to tie in here with a 4-inch pipe, go to an elevated septic tank, which will be in an enclosed structure. It'll be heated. The structure of the tank will be above elevation 13 as required. It'll be an HDPE tank by 750 gallons as opposed to the 1,500 gallons which is proposed. The effluent from the tank will flow down across the line of piers here to a distribution box. It'll go down into a typical leaching system which will be located in this area. It's a leaching chamber system, 335 square feet. It'll be located 5 feet off the property line as opposed to required 10 feet. Basically, that's because there just isn't enough room on the lot. We wanted to keep it away from the water, of course. The lot slopes down in this direction towards Central Ave. I believe the existing septic system for this dwelling is located here. And because of the piers, the line of piers that you go across, we just couldn't get it underneath the structure, so.
What about the one on the other side?
The septic system?
Yeah.
I believe it's located actually underneath the dwelling, which is located on piers. So the distance from this area to here would exceed the distance if we tried to put the system over on this side.
Why couldn't you go underneath?
Well, you physically couldn't build it because of the, getting the equipment in there.
How big's a shovel?
Depends on whether the shovel's on tracks or tires, but we'd prefer to put it there. It just is extremely difficult to work under here. I mean, these are all, I have some pictures, but there's all sorts of cross spacing in here.
And when did this get,
February, last February.
this February 13th?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my understanding is the pipes had been washed away and they thought the structure was still there and they went to connect it and there was no place to connect it
And
to.
how, will that be closed?
Yes, this is enclosed. Let me flip this over.
And it's enclosed, but there's access for pumping?
Yes, the access will be from the existing deck.
And how high does that tank sit?
It's, sits basically, if you look at this,
What's it enclosed in?
it'll be enclosed in a fiberglass, and I think the contractor was proposing to use the fiberboard and then paint the outside of it. It'll be waterproof with fiberglass on the inside. The structure sits above elevation 13, and this is the existing deck, the existing dwelling. these are the piers, the supports will go across the piers and then be supported, and we haven't, enlisted the services.
Under the house.
Under the house,
In between.
in the
piers.
piers, exactly.
And how high did you say it's at?
The existing grade is elevation 10, the bottom of the tank will be elevation 13, so it's about 3 feet.
And you said it's heated as well, is that?
It'll
how
be
is-
heated by basically a space heater, which will come off the power.
Space heater with fiberglass,
Yeah.
okay.
How about when it flows to the field, how does the heating system work there?
Well, it'll have to be an insulated pipe.
It's very kind of still waiting on
Well, it is a summer residence, and I know that doesn't guarantee anything.
You can box the pipe in with the insulation around it. That's what we've done in a lot of cases. If the pipe goes down, we have it go down the riverside of a piling, and then insulate and box it in that way.
They have those kind of freezes.
Usually they drop straight down.
Yeah, but it's gravity.
From the system that'll
Well,
pass out.
straight down, then they go under as opposed to riding along.
Well, the intent was to bring it up, again, keep this above elevation 13, and then drop down on this piling right here.
Is there any reason why the system can't be placed in the front of the yard?
Well, because of the grade drops down from elevation 10, the street's at about elevation 7.
It won't work, because then they have to put in a wall, and they can't put in a wall with Concom and not in the visa.
We also have the water line, which is located right here. This is actually the water main, which is located along the property here.
Yeah, they're all the way down, they move
Exactly.
every so often.
And their water service comes in here, and as Jennifer pointed out, we propose that this be sheeted as well. It's shown on the revised plan, it's not shown on this color plan.
I just, I mean, it is what it is, and you're gonna do the best you can do, and that's what we want. I just, like I said, I think I said it at the last meeting, be prepared for this to be washed out again. It's in such a tough area.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess
it's-
that's my point. The further you go out this way, the more apt it's gonna be to get washed out. The plus to it is, I mean, once this plan, if it gets approved the way it is, you can use the plan again, the homeowner can, and rebuild what's already been approved. You know, you don't have to come through this process.
Right,
I think it's a system that, I mean, it's a situation unfortunately that
Yeah.
it happens down here.
How do we get the other systems in here? Do we do an alternative system or something where it's less to groundwater? I mean, most of the systems are usually
No,
out in
most
the
of the,
front yard, and I know we
no.
move the pipes.
Yeah, we've
Move
moved
the
the
water
water
line.
pipes, but a lot of those are in between the pilings.
In between the pilings.
Before the pilings were driven.
No, when the pilings were driven before the house was built.
Yeah, there's a couple of them like that, but I know there's some in the front yard that are.
Yeah, but
in the front yard.
that wasn't an issue of the slope though.
Not an issue with slope, right, but I got you, but to get the system lower in the ground.
But the
Are there any
combination,
alarms on this, whether it's?
yeah, there'll be an alarm which will be into the picture. There's the flow for the alarms in the tank, obviously, here, and the alarm will be directed, the horn and the light will be in the kitchen.
But if it's only a summer residence, alarm doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
That's for this owner, the next owner.
Yeah, the next
Right,
person,
right.
That's kind of how it works, is that,
I say pits and put them deep.
Now this is,
I'm not gonna, personally, I think if you could get a variance to the groundwater, you might be better off going deeper because the chance of them being washed away is less, but then there's no guarantee that you get the variance because of the protection to the groundwater and so on, so it's
yeah, we just had one that got kibosh because of
you
that.
can't hit yourself in here.
Oh, absolutely. We just had it with the 12-foot dives.
You know, that's not,
No,
that's it, you know, the
That's the
reality.
dilemma you're facing on that,
That's-
it's just, you know, you try to do the best you can. And I think having a tank that's above ground, if it's elevated above the velocity zone, if the system, you know, the soil pipe gets knocked out, at least your solids are above ground and they're basically contained, and these tanks are very strong, so.
I know that, when you, that's why I asked them to strap up.
They're gonna have to go
Save
to,
the solids.
they're gonna have to go to EP with this, because it is
Someone will
not
find it on
usual.
Head Island and open it up. Hey, what's this? Somebody safe?
Okay.
And then,
All right,
I
so-
mean, he's gonna have to go to DEP with this, and then he's gonna have to go to Concom.
What do you mean from here? The side setback,
Yeah,
what else?
and it's an undersized tank,
Yep,
and there's no ground cover.
Yeah,
Can you list them out? Or-
they're right here.
Oh,
These are all of the, it's Pike to property line, which is Scituate.
yeah.
DeBoss property line, it's a Scituate. Distance from seasonal high groundwater, we requested 4 feet instead of 5 per cubic minutes an inch. The number of soil tests, just because of the location. Property line, which we already talked about, setback to property line. Septic tank, depth, 4 feet, we'd like to make it 3 feet because it's gonna be a smaller tank, 750 gallons versus the 1,500 gallons. We'd like reduction in the size of the leaching system, just because if we, to get the required system would be another 3.5 feet over, which would be only 2 feet from the property line. Based on the fact that it's a summer residence, we felt that if we could get it, we'd like to try that.
How many bedrooms?
3 bedrooms.
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to see in the future, or even for this, just so we know, is where the systems are when you have variance to the property line. So we're not putting systems on top of systems.
Right, I
Maybe
reviewed the
check with
file,
John.
I'm quite sure it's in here.
But you
And
know what
this
I mean?
one's over here.
Yeah, quite sure I'm showing it on the plan.
No, I understand, yeah, I agree.
Especially on this side. This side, there's no issue, you know, but this one here, just,
The other thing, just so you know, we do have gone to conservation, we had a hearing on the 8th. They continued it to last Monday, but since we hadn't met with the Board of Health, they continued again, so, I checked with the secretary, and I spoke to Pat Galvin, and he said his understanding is the commission is willing to go along with, the work of the velocity zone.
Motion that we approve the system as designed with the variances requested for the
272.
272.
272.
I second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yay.
Have a good night, thank you.
Good job.
Okay. Do you want to do reorganization?
Yeah, we can do that quick if there's, I'll leave it open.
Our board hasn't had any new members in the recent times, so this is just an opportunity for changing if you want or not, changing if you want, the officers of the board.
I think I've been chairman now for 2 years.
I think you've grown into it, to be honest with you. And I would love to see you continue if you deem that you.
I have no problem doing it, but being chairman is not something that matters to me, whether I am or not. I'm just happy to be on the board and do what I can do. So if you're comfortable, I'm comfortable, but I wanted to present that opportunity to you if you felt you wanted to take the helm, so to say.
So well, you
Continue that,
you have to move it.
I would make a motion that you appoint Russell as chairman of
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we need a vice chair for when Russell is in here.
And I guess I could nominate that, and I'm only going to do this because you're
I'm a newbie, so.
brand new on the board, so I'm going to nominate Mr. Michael Vaza as vice chair for the 2013-2014
Vice chair.
vice chair. Second.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And Paul, that makes you clerk.
All right, that was quick.
Okay. All right, so somebody can tap dance for 3 minutes.
Tap dance. I see familiar faces here. This is.
Yes, I've heard from a lot of people recently who I haven't had a chance to talk to.
We just got 2 minutes. We've got to go by town hall clock, so we're on for 7:30. So we can. I was going to jokingly say about those Red Sox, but we'll leave that alone.
I was thinking appetizing too.
Quick with the beaches back that they tested today. All the beaches
No.
test on Tuesdays.
Yeah, we test Tuesday mornings. Results come in 24 hours later for lucky on Wednesdays. If the results are bad, we test, post the beach, and wait till Thursday.
And how do you post the beach?
Well, there's a state sign, I have to fill out some information on it, and then we have a sign that's required by the beach regs that says this beach is tested from third week of June to Labor Day, and we have a plywood piece that's attached to the pole underneath that, and if I have to post, I post there. It's in process, I believe, that the lifeguards will be getting their own signs to put up.
Well, they're governed by the Scituate rec.
Yeah.
So do we notify the Scituate rec who then notifies?
I notified the recreation, the town administrator, the webmaster, the harbor master, the fire chief, the police chief, the board members.
And do the lifeguards get any sort of,
When
basic
rec is
information?
notified,
Not training, but basic information, I'm sure, because they're the front line, they get questions and, do they not answer the
Well-
question? The simpler questions.
well, Jen Vitelli just asked me to do a beach testing fact sheet, which I did, and it was submitted last week to Ms. Vincenzi to approve or edit, and we haven't got it back as yet. But Jen's plan is to laminate it and give it to all lifeguards, and we of course we post it on the website. So.
And whoever's on the email list gets the emails as well.
Yeah, and if people want to be, I always tell them you can go to the town website, and I am now giving out also the state website, because I don't know how often quickly that gets posted, but they do post it on that. So, at this point, the town plans to change the town website by September, and they will be training, and each department will then have control of its own information. So what that means for next year is that as soon as I get the information, I can put it on the website.
Right.
We don't have to wait for the
Rely on
webmaster.
somebody else.
Well, yeah, for the webmaster. So, that will help as well. But when rec gets the info, they radio the lifeguards. So the lifeguards know, and they can start advising people to stay out of the water.
Yeah, swimming your own risk, so to say. Yeah. All right. All right, we'll move on. 7:30 p.m. grease trap compliance discussion. And the reason why I did say it, I should explain myself why I recognize faces, is the help we had when we went through doing the grease trap stuff. And that was the only reason why I think the restaurants in Scituate do an excellent job with keeping them clean and healthy and to code. So with that said, I'll leave it to Jennifer to start the discussion.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for coming in.
The Board of Health developed these regulations at the request of town administrator because DPW, the sewer division, has had considerable maintenance problems with grease coming out of different food facilities and clogging the lines and causing backups, and a lot of unhappy people, and a lot of cost to the town to clean up basically somebody else's mess. So we had several hearings, and we passed these regulations probably a year ago in May, and we made them effective I believe the beginning of June or July. And here we are with the first, we phased it in purposely to give everybody a chance to get up to speed and do something about it. And apparently, from what I can understand, from our list of people who have 100 or more seats, most of the people here tonight have not quite achieved compliance. So we decided to ask you all in to try and urge you to be in compliance before we have to do something about renewing the food permit at the end of December. So basically, most of you are here tonight, some others I have heard of, and I have a letter here from one of them in the tent, stating what his plans are. And we basically want to know where you are at and what your plans are to be in compliance before we have to decide about renewing the food permit. And some of you called and you didn't have these regulations, even though they're on the web. And we sent those out to all of you. And tonight we'd like you to identify yourself and your facility and go on the board of what your situation is.
You can run that through the chairman, and then if there's questions, we'll run it back around just to keep it organized. And as Jennifer said, if you plan to speak, just give your name and address, so have that for the record. Do appreciate that.
I know, you're looking. I apologize, I haven't spoke to you since last year, and I probably should have. Absolutely.
Name for the record,
Yeah,
please.
George Jordan from the Barker Tavern. Absolutely, we intend to comply. I really wanted to get a couple of months of some business. I'm sure people understand how the business works around here, but it's been a pretty tough winter, and we've had pretty decent June and July. Like everyone else, we've been hit with air conditioning, refrigeration, all kinds of repairs. But really needed a couple months to have the resources to do this, and we could have gone one of two ways that we discussed last time: an expensive couple of tanks that Paul Marabito drew up for us in the back parking lot. We looked into some financing to do that this summer, this spring. Unfortunately, the bank wasn't interested in funding that sort of thing. Looked at other kinds of financing, and they're scary. It's almost like loan sharking, short terms, high interest rates. And the other option that we had discussed was possibly putting 2 more grease traps in the kitchen. We already have one. The pot sink feeds into that grease trap. That's probably the most grease that comes out of that kitchen. Then we have 2 more dishwashers. They each have sinks that lead into the dishwashers. If we could put grease traps underneath those sinks, our grease traps are pumped twice a month. Our single grease trap is pumped. That's something we can afford to do. It won't be inexpensive. At the time when we discussed it, we didn't have the pipes going out. It wasn't up to new regulations and grease traps. When I got the letter, I called the plumber. I had asked him about it a month earlier, but he got tied up and wasn't able to follow through. So the town plumber has go ahead.
When you say pumped, you mean pumped out into some type of container?
Yeah,
or pumped
Spencer.
out of sort of a...
Spencer comes twice a month and pumps the grease trap.
He sucks
Okay.
it into his tank.
One of the things that's in the regulations, and it's in the regulations for a reason, is to remotely locate the grease traps. Because if you keep them right under the facility generating the grease, it is still in suspension because of the heat of the water. It then goes out the pipe into the sewer and solidifies and clogs it. You have an outside tank, and Mr. Marabito's isn't the end-all solution necessarily. You might get away with one tank. Somebody designs it differently. It's further away, it's cooler. You have the cooler temperature of the ground around the tank. It helps it solidify and stay in the tank versus going out into the sewer, which is the problem. I mean, and that's what we're trying to avoid. And that's also why we don't want them that close to the sinks. Because some of those small ones that people already have the same problem. Out the line. I mean, I can tell you at least, 2 restaurants have had to close because of grease trap problems in the sewer. They back out into the restaurant. It's nasty, it's expensive, it hurts your business. I mean, you don't want it, we don't want it. I mean, yes, the corrective measures we need to take are gonna cost us, but it's not gonna cost you in business when somebody knows what happened. And, or somebody was there and it happened. And you're not gonna have to dig up the street, you're not gonna have to, annoy your neighbors, and you're not gonna make the DPW really mad.
Well, I think our problem at the Barker isn't so much one tank would handle grease. The problem is the age of the Barker and the way the piping comes out is in such a way that even the reason Paul put in 2 tanks would be to save us money on the expense of connecting existing pipes from the function side into the grease trap. So would be a huge expense in plumbing to direct pipes the way they are. Now, right now on my dining room side, the pipe where the sink is in the dining room goes directly out. It doesn't connect with any other of sewage. It's a line that goes directly out into the manhole. So if you put a pipe near there, a big tank near there, that's a straight line. The line from the function side goes in a different route, and that's going to be very expensive to put differently. So that's why he wanted to do 2 tanks, one in one location and one a little further back, in order to minimize the expense of tying those pipes in there. It certainly I think there are steps that we can take in the handling of washing plates and so forth. The water that we use to wash the plates isn't scalding hot water to rinse plates off. So dish plates, and that's what those sinks do. That's what's done in those sinks. It's dish plates, food plates. So we've implemented since our last meeting a process and it cost me money and labor to have somebody that just scrapes the food off of the plate with a rubber spatula to get everything off. Then the plate goes in the rack, and then that gets rinsed down. That water isn't very hot, and it doesn't mix with the dishwasher water. That dishwater, the rinse water from the dishwasher goes somewhere else. That line goes directly out. So I don't think.
Yeah, but the dishwasher is up somewhere, because there's going to be some grease in that waste line.
But but the plates are rinsed clean before they go in. The dishwasher is more for disinfecting than it is for cleaning the plate. The plate should go into the dishwasher clean.
Don't tell me that just scraping it off and rinsing it off makes it clean.
No, but I'm saying is those are procedures that we can put in place to help. What I'm saying is.
You get most of it off before, I understand where you're going, and that's.
My problem is, I would love to be completely honest with you, I'd much rather put the tanks out back, and then they come once a month, and then they're not bringing in tubing, and then I'm already paying twice a month if I put 3. Now they're gonna clean 3 grease traps twice a month, and that monthly expense is gonna go up. But like so many things in the business in these past 5 years, when you're faced with wanting to do it the right way and you don't have the resources to do that, or you have to stick your neck way out in order to do that, you make really tough decisions. And I'll give you an example. My air conditioning units in my function room are 26 years old. They should have been replaced a long time ago. The past 3 or 4 years, I've probably put more money into fixing them than it would cost to buy new ones. But I can't make that purchase because we're not in a position to make the purchase to replace them. So we've had to put money into them year after year just to keep them going in hopes things are going to turn around and we're going to make a little more profit and be able to do things the right way. So we understand the right way, and then we have what we can afford to do, and they're constantly you know, at odds with each other. And I'm a little embarrassed to talk like that in front of everyone. I know most people think the Barkers, you know, been around a long time and we're doing great, but it's been a struggle and it's really a challenging time. And, you know, I put 15,000 in my air conditioning this year alone during that first heat wave in June when it broke down. So, you know, we're really in a tight spot. If you had said, and I think a long time ago, he told my father to do it, I wish he had done it. And he's left me this mess, but, you know, we're just in a tough,
Don't blame Dad.
but he's not here, I gotta be here, right? So, I mean, I'm just trying to be honest with you where we're coming from. You know, financing now, if you can't get financing from a bank, what you do is you go to alternative financing. One way is they take a percentage off your credit card receipts, I'm sure people know this. They take it off based on sales, they take it every credit card sale, they take a percentage that really kills your cash flow. Another way is to take short-term 12-month notes. So if you talk about $50,000 for 12 months, they take that out weekly, and then when you go into the off-season, which is just a few months away now, that puts us in a position of how we're gonna pay that, you know, we're gonna be in a position to pay that back. So it's you know, I don't know how to secure the financing to do what I'd like to do. I know that I can do the grease traps now. I know I can afford to do that. I wish in 5 years, and business is doing much better, I'm in a position to put the tanks, I can still do the tanks then. If I do this now, at least it improves conditions quite a bit for the time being, and hopefully I'm in a better position to do it the right way. It would be to my benefit to do it that way. That's my dilemma.
I mean, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see everybody come up, give their best plan to you, and then you sift through it, and then you can open up
Well,
a discussion.
it's not gonna be just me sifting through it, I've gotta have the plumbing inspector help.
No, correct, but each
I'm
situation's
not gonna
gonna,
pretend to know
but
every
each
issue.
situation's gonna be different.
Oh, well, I know, well, that's why,
And I think
I-
everybody, what's
Yeah.
important to me is that you get an action plan from everybody. It may not be a perfect answer, but it's an answer, and it's a plan that they're gonna try to execute.
okay, is anybody looking to grease reduction machines at the intake? No. Okay. I will get you information on that too, that may be something else you wanna look at.
Can I ask a question? Tony Pacello, Scituate Country Club. Are we saying right now that the only way to handle this problem is with an outside underground grease trap?
That's preferred.
I understand that that's preferred, but in the meetings and everything that I had attended before, there were other options, whether it be passive traps, whether it be this. I know an underground outside grease trap is the best way, but I mean, that is a very, very expensive proposition to hit in a short period of time, and that means within the last year. And I wasn't even aware that this is the only option, because in some of the prior meetings, they were talking about, certain grease traps here, or there are all kinds of questions that were being asked, and not necessarily, at that point, not everybody knew the answers. And now to come back with the only thing that's really acceptable is an underground outside grease trap, which is essentially a septic tank.
Excuse me, Rich from Eco Valleys. We're in kind of, I think we're all in unique situations. Is each place to be looked at individually, or is this it, like blanket, boom, it's gotta be underground?
We're gonna look at it individually.
We're
But I
right on the
mean,
water.
well, I know, well, that's one of the reasons we knew there were gonna be places that couldn't do it, because one, they didn't have space, or two, they didn't own the property. But, that's why it's pretty much gonna be individualized, but you all have gotta come up with some kind of action plan and solution.
Well, we put one in, we replaced the grease tank we had inside 2 years ago. And at the time, we thought that's what covered it with the plumber. So I'd I'm playing naive here, so.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you have, so I
Right.
can't, basically, you've gotta tell us what you have,
Okay.
and then we're gonna have to check it out with the plumbing inspector and see if that's the best you can do, or if they, certainly if it's not sized right, it's
Right.
gonna be a problem. But first we're gonna wanna know if it's sized right, and then we're gonna wanna know if that's the best you can do, and, you know,
Now,
we'll
what
try
size,
and work it out.
what size to what we had, but now we're understanding it's gotta be 1.5 times greater than what we had, like what you were supposed to be at, is that what I'm understanding? That's what our plumber told us, and he heard. So we had to increase above and beyond our capacity should be at.
I think that's what it says. I don't have it memorized.
Okay.
Walter Collins, Seco Mailers. The grease reduction system you talked about, is that the system that Hingham incorporates? Some of the,
I don't honestly know what
The
they
name of the town of Hingham?
the town of Hingham, they have a skimmer system that.
Yeah, that's the pre-treatment type thing. You know, the intake before it hits the sewer. Yeah, there's some things that do work that way.
So who do we go to, Jeff? Do we go to the plumbing inspector to find out?
Well, you
what
send
system?
us your action plans and the information on what you've got.
Okay.
I mean, basically, a lot of you are gonna, you're gonna have to get it, consult with, show the plumber the grease trap rates, have them look at what you got, what you need, and where it can go. And then submit it. I mean, that's the first step in compliance. And after that's done, the plumbing inspector and I will go over them, and then maybe making some site visits just to try and get it in our heads of, is there any other possibilities, or is there any other thing that can be done? I will try and get some vendors on those skimmer things and get them to come in and do a demonstration for you, or,
I did them at one location, and they worked, a lot of maintenance, a lot of breaking down, a lot of repair, a lot
sounds like a dishwasher.
of worse.
So you got a question?
Well, I'm traveling from the Hadley Country Club, and the clubhouse manager, Rich Gahi, which takes care of the maintenance on the outside part of the building. We're not in town sewer. We have a septic system, which Rich takes care of. And we do have an outside trap there, which, what's the size of it?
We have a separate 3,500 gallon grease trap.
And we also have one inside on the 3-bay hot sink.
Okay.
I apologize, we have a separate business office, neither one of us got the original letter that was sent out.
Lovely.
So, yeah, so we apologize, I know it must have been sent out, so we're kind of wondering, we're not in compliance, just because you haven't heard from us.
Well, one, I haven't heard from you, and two, I'm not familiar with what you have a system and where.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you can get me something that's up to date, you may be fine, but, I just don't know.
What are you looking for?
You got a set of plans
Yeah.
and a location? All right, get me a copy. You may be fine. I'd like to think you are.
There's a man that's prepared.
First one with the answer sheet there.
I have a letter here from the yacht club saying they're working on it too, and they hope to be in compliance by December. We'll see.
We have some receipts that show who takes fry grease away and who cleans the inside traps. and
Yeah,
outside
I mean,
traps.
that's another thing. I think I sent everybody some questionnaires, and I didn't get very many responses. So, I mean, when you submit your action plan, I would like you to include, who takes away your hard grease. If you're not emptying the grease trap yourselves, who is, how often?
Was that the questionnaire around February maybe?
Yeah. I didn't get a lot of responses, which was kind of disappointing.
I sent one back, I thought, and that's really the only correspondence that I've had regarding this. So I didn't even realize that I was not in compliance or that any of this had really taken place for this particular time. So it was a little bit of a
I'm sure I'm the same way.
When did we have we had the meetings, what, in
A year ago.
2000?
I was at meetings, I was at
12.
some meetings where they had, we were talking about it, I understood they were coming. I just didn't get official
Deadlines?
deadlines or, I did get the questionnaire, I filled it out, I sent it back, I have a copy of it here. I don't use, we don't have fryer labels. We don't, I have 3 grease traps at my pot sinks and my rinse sink. I don't have one at my dishwasher because I have understood from past research that you don't want your dishwasher
You don't put your dishwasher on.
So there were some, things that we just were really unsure about where we were headed with this, and then all of a sudden I got this letter regarding non-compliance.
Well, we're just rounding you up, bringing you in.
And I'm glad to see that's what it's my first appointment here.
Sir, you had something to say? Yes.
Yes, Brian Young from the Veterans of Foreign Laws. And I get to notice that because we're 100 seats or more, we're considered an eating establishment. I didn't think a vending machine put us in the same class as the Barker and the Hadley.
Well, you have a kitchen and you do have food functions there.
We have caterers come in and eat food. The only food function we have is the St. Patty's Day dinner. We do have a small grease trap under the sink.
Well,
Now,
I'm
we're gonna
gonna-
have to put it in-ground sophisticated.
I don't know what you have for a system either. So, if you can give me a plan of your system, we'll take a look at it.
You can get a picture of it, I don't know, it's been there for 20 years.
Well, maybe it needs to be updated.
Well, maybe the potato chips that go in the trash doesn't create that much grease, and we are on a private septic system.
I know. Well, this isn't exclusive to sewer.
Maybe you can ask the secretary if they've got anything in their office. There might be a set of plans or something, and we can check at town hall to see if there's something. 20 years ago, there should be something on file,
But
I
I
think.
think
20 years ago isn't that long ago.
Nobody, not so many people pull permits either, probably put in by one of the members.
I'd quit right there if I were you.
I'm just trying to say that
Being
I
honest.
don't consider us a food establishment with the Barker Tavern, the Hadley.
No, I understand. I know where you're going with
But
that.
then what Jennifer needs is a statement of what you have, how you use it, and you can bring that to her. And, then if she has further questions, she can, you have to give her a snapshot of what you do.
Okay, because this came out of the blue. You don't send your mailings to our P.O. box. You send it to the street address, and we don't always get things. So this came Thursday of this week. That was the only notification I had.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't get it earlier. We'll see if we can't correct the address problem, but I still need to have a picture of what you got.
I'll drop by the office and see what we can do.
Yeah. If I have to look with you all one-on-one, that's what I'm prepared to do. But I have to start with something.
Could I ask something? The Playhouse has over 100 seats. Do they have to comply with this?
Which plan?
The Scituate Playhouse and Movie Theater? According to this, if you have 100 seats or more, you are an eating establishment and have to comply with this.
Well, they're not a food service, they don't have a kitchen. They get what's called a food service permit, but they don't have a kitchen, they're not serving meals.
We have to eat.
Well, probably mostly you aren't, but then there's sometimes you might. We're gonna have to discuss that, and what you do, and how you do it, and how often, whatever.
It just struck me as a little bit of overkill.
Well,
Might be a matter of definition, and I understand where you're going with that, as opposed to a full-time restaurant and somebody that has a catered event, I don't know, once a week, maybe once a month, once a month.
But all they do is bring in trays and keep them up in the oven and throw what's left in the dumpsters.
Right.
well, it's possible we could put something on your permit
It might
that
be,
will limit what you are, and what you do. But, you know, we gotta sit down and talk about it.
and that's something maybe we gotta look at, like, it's a matter of definition, like you said, it's 100 seats, yeah, you have 100 seats, but I see where you're going with that angle, absolutely, and it makes some sense there.
Okay, who haven't we heard from? Sir?
Can I
Okay.
just, George from Bucket Tavern,
Yeah.
just to make it clear on what I should do next, we have a plan for outside tanks. Can I put together a plan for inside grease traps and capacity and so forth, and submit that to you as well?
Yes, but if you're working with your plumbers, then what I want them to do is you give them the copy of the grease trap regs, so they know whether you are or aren't in compliance, and what's being proposed is in compliance, because you don't wanna propose it if it's not. And I want their sizings information on it, because that's what the plumbing inspector and I are gonna be going over, is making sure you size correctly.
Well, he has been there. I think
Yeah, Phil and I talked briefly,
So
but we didn't, the last time I talked to you, he was going back to talk to you again. So, you know, I don't know where our final level here is. So, you know, that's the kind of information I want, and then Phil and I'll get Phil and, you know, rather than hop, skip, jump everywhere, we'll sit down and hash it all out. And then, like I said, if we need to do a site visit, we will. And if we have any questions, you know, then, you know, if you want us to talk to you and or your plumber, give us their names and contact information. So, you know, if we have a question, calling you and you don't know.
Yeah, have
you
them
know,
come in, have them come in the
we'll
office.
We'll call your plumber and they can tell us.
Yes, he, Paul Finnegan and
I know.
yeah, they know each other well, and he's working on that.
Yeah, so, I mean, the more information you give me, the better, because I can give you a more complete answer. You know?
So Rich gave us the plan for the Hadley Country Club, so.
We'll give you a day to look at.
Oh, no, so, no, the only thing I missed is the questionnaire, so should I can stop by the office sometimes, we grab that, give that to you with the, and you got the plan, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah,
So pretty much just the questionnaire and the plan,
yeah.
and that's the start for us.
Last week I spoke to you on the phone, you said you're gonna mail out the whole thing again to us, but I never got it.
CDs,
Yeah.
I have the regulations here.
Oh, okay.
Just,
You did?
yeah.
I didn't mail it.
How many copies do you have there, Mary?
Um,
Does anybody
Is that the one online?
what's that?
Yes.
I got it.
Yeah, I got it offline too.
got it online? Do you want to take a hard copy? We have it here if you want.
Take one for the primer as well. I'm coming up for that corned beef and cabbage, you know, I bet that's pretty good.
Okay.
So we're all on.
You have your marching orders. I'll be hearing from you all soon. And, you know, the sooner I hear from you, then hopefully the sooner I can get back to you.
Yeah, thanks for everybody coming in.
And, you know, we want to work with you. We know there's some problems.
Got another
All
month to go.
different kinds. But, you know, we've got to make progress.
Yeah, thanks guys for coming in.
Thank you, everybody.
That, I think we basically covered everything on the agenda. Is there any concerns or new business?
that motion.
Good night, thank you.
Good night.
Thank you very much,
Thanks
guys.
for coming in, thanks for the plan.
Yep.